Hello everyone and welcome back to what I think is the last video in this folder of work series. I could be wrong, I might finish filming this and then realise that I've forgotten to say something, but this is the last section that you'll be having to complete, and the section we're going to be covering today is your personal reflection. So your personal reflection comes at the end of your folder, and in it you will be looking in more detail at one or two of your pieces depending what grade level you are. So for grade 1 you're going to be explaining just one piece in a little bit more detail, and at grade 2 you are going to be comparing two of the pieces in your folder. So I'm going to explain how to do both of those things. The first thing I'm going to do is go into Google Classroom and open up the grade. I'm going to be doing this in grade 1 again like I did last time, and then I'm opening up the classwork stream and scrolling down to the folder of work topic. So I'm going to go in and it will have saved everything that I did last time. So I am going to write my personal reflection on Double Trouble by June Crebin. So all I've done is I've taken the annotation that I did alongside Double Trouble when I first put it into my folder, and I've just copied and pasted that into the body of the text and then changed the title that it says Double Trouble by June Crebin. Now, to make it clear in my head, I always turn the annotation red so that when I'm typing, I can be typing in black and I know what is parts of my personal reflection that I have written here now and what is my original annotation. It just keeps it a little bit simpler in my head. So you're going to really want to use that annotation as the backbone of your personal reflection. So you do a little introduction at the start. I'm just saying, today I'm going to be writing about Double Trouble by June Crebin, and saying, this is one of the first poems that I put into this folder. You can give that little bit of context. It doesn't have to be any more than a couple of sentences. It just helps to kind of lead into all of your points a little bit more clearly. So now that I have my little introduction done, I am just going to start typing. So my first point is going to be based on the first sentence of my annotation, which is, I like this poem because you have to pretend to be someone else when you're saying it. You have to pretend to be Anne. So I'm just going to expand on that a little bit and talk about how I would like to perform this piece, because you would get to act. And I really like acting. That's one of my favourite things about speech and drama. You want in your personal reflection as well to be quoting specific lines from the text. So you can see I'm saying here, we know this because it says, and then I am pulling the lines out of the text that told me that the speaker is Anne. So there was a little sentence in the first verse that says, sometimes I'm called Katie, sometimes I'm called Anne, which tells you that she's one of the twins. But then it's that sentence later on when she says about how people think she's Katie that we know she's actually Anne, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to start a new paragraph, and in this second paragraph I'm going to be looking at that second point from my annotation, which was, I especially like the bit where it says, she sometimes plays with Katie thinking that it's me, because it's funny to imagine your friend coming round to play but ending up playing with your sister by accident. So in this paragraph I'm going to link that sentence to other sections of the poem. So I'm going to talk about it in a little more detail. In this poem, the way that I'm going to do it is by highlighting the good and the bad things that are mentioned in this poem about having a twin. So obviously your friends mistaking you for your sister is one of the bad things, but there are also bits that are good as well, when her uncle says, it must be fun to pretend to be each other. Now, after I had written this paragraph, I actually decided that I wanted to add a few more details. So make sure that you're reading back over your paragraphs as you go and seeing if you've made your point really clearly. If there's more detail you can add, go for it. Just make sure that everything is being proofread and checked over as you go, and then you'll not have as much work to do at the very end, which is always good. So now it is time for our third paragraph, which you've already guessed, I'm sure, is based on the third sentence that I had in my annotation. So in it, I'm just talking about myself and my own experience and my sister and my brother and how they're not twins, but they always get mistaken for twins because they're quite close in age. They're only about 18 months apart, whereas I'm a few years older than them. So I always wondered when I was little what it would be like to actually have a twin, or what it would be like if people thought I had a twin. So as you can see, the actual content of the paragraph is quite similar to what I said in my original annotation. I'm just beefing it up a little bit, expanding the ideas a wee bit more, and really turning it into a proper paragraph rather than just one sentence. The most important thing when you're doing your personal reflection is that you're explaining why you liked the poem, why did you find it interesting, and that you are using direct quotes from the poem itself. Don't just say, I like the poem because it's funny. What bit is funny? What sentence makes you laugh? Why does it make you laugh? Is it because it's a character saying it and you get to do a funny voice? Is it because they use made up words? Is it just a funny image to picture? Whatever it is, make sure you're telling the examiner exactly why it is that you like that in your personal reflection. So now I am just going to do a little bit of formatting of mine. I prefer a different font and I wanted to make it a little bit smaller. For my personal reflection, I wanted to put a few more spaces in between the lines just to make it read a little bit better. So I just went up into line spacing and just upgraded it a couple of levels. So in the end, I just made it 1.5 line spacing rather than single line spacing, which just makes it fit a little bit better on the page. As you can see, mine is in size 13 print. I would recommend somewhere between 12 and 14. I wouldn't go any bigger than that, but that is pretty much it for your personal reflection at grade 1. It wasn't that really easy. All you have to do is pick one piece and tell me exactly why you liked it, why you find it interesting, and write about it. Make sure it's proper long sentences. When you send this through to me, I can have a look through it and see if there's anything else. Sometimes it's a bit easier if you're being asked direct questions. Grade 2 then is slightly different. In it, you have to compare and contrast two of the pieces that you have included in your folder. So this year, you'll be comparing a poem and a prose, or a prose and a drama, or whatever it is that you've included. You pick two of the pieces and compare them. So when you're originally looking for the pieces that you want to compare, look for their similarities first. So look at the things that make them the same. Do they have the same mood? Are they both sad pieces? Do they have the same theme? Are they both about animals? Are they both about outsiders? Are they both about mermaids? Do they have the same speaker? Are they both written in first person? Are they both written in third person? Whatever it is, find something that links them together that you're going to be able to talk about. And then when you get into your reflection, you can start to think more about the things that are different. So I am going to be writing my example one today on Wonder by R.J. Palacio and Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine. Now, I did do an extract from Wonder. I'm going to use the same one as I did last time. And then I just picked a different text so that I could compare them for you today. So the first thing I always do when I'm comparing is I insert a table and put all of my planning into that. So it just needs 2 columns, one for Wonder and one for Mockingbird. And then I can go through and find the things that are the same and find the things that are different. So both of these texts are similar in that they're both about an outsider. I'm writing Augie is an outsider because he looks different in the wonder column, and I'm writing Caitlin is an outsider because she acts and thinks differently. So as you can see, that's kind of a similarity and a difference in one, and some of them are going to be like that. So they're both outsiders, but in different ways and for different reasons. In Wonder, it's written from Augie's perspective. In Mockingbird, it's written from Caitlin's perspective. Those two are exactly the same. They're both written in first person. Then there is another similarity I'm going to write. In this book, Augie finds acceptance in Wonder, and in this book, Caitlin finds acceptance in Mockingbird. But attached to that, there's also a difference. So Augie finds acceptance on quite a large scale. He gets his award in front of the whole school, doesn't he, in the extract we talked about last week? So his is quite big and quite grand, whereas Caitlin's in Mockingbird is a lot more personal. It's acceptance in her family, and she makes friends and she talks to her counsellor, and there's all different sorts of things in that realm, but it's not a big public display like Augie's is. So although they both find acceptance, I can still talk about that as a difference as well. My last point then is going to be about the issues and conflicts that they have throughout the story. So in Wonder, Augie finds things difficult because he gets picked on, because he looks different and because he started school late and things like that. And those are direct results of his disability. Whereas in Mockingbird, Caitlin has other problems going on. She's trying to deal with the death of her brother. She's trying to deal with making friends at school, and those things are becoming difficult and they are becoming problems because she isn't processing things the same way that you or I would. So that is the difference there. Augie's disability is the cause of his problems, whereas Caitlin's disability makes it difficult for her to deal with other problems. I am highlighting them just to make it really clear which ones are like similarities and which ones are differences. Some of them do overlap, but you can see the general structure. I'm going to use this table as my backbone rather than the annotation. So as at grade 1, we are going to just write a really quick little introduction. I'm just saying that I have decided to compare Wonder and Mockingbird today because they're two of my favourite books and they have similar themes but also quite a lot of differences. And then straight away I'm getting into my first point about how both books have a main character who's an outsider. And I'm literally just taking almost the exact sentence that I had in my table and I'm just beefing it up a little bit and explaining why Augie is an outsider and why Caitlin is an outsider. You're also going to want to use direct quotes from the text. Look for lines and sentences in the extract that you've chosen that speak to these things that you're talking about. So Augie is an outsider, but he finds acceptance because he's clever and kind and all the different things that Mr. Tushman explains in his speech. So after that, then I'm going to go on and make another point about how that happens in Mockingbird. I'm going to continue down through this annotation. I'm not going to talk anymore about it. I don't think I have very much more to say. However, if you want to have a read at it, just pause the video and have a read down through that. It hopefully will help you with yours. Not every personal reflection is going to be the same. You just want to make sure that you are really hitting those points. So in grade 1, you're looking for things that are interesting, and at grade 2, you are looking for similarities and differences between pieces that you find interesting. Your personal reflection is not going to be perfect the first time. Don't worry, I don't expect it to be. What I would much rather is that you take the time and give it your best shot, and then I can correct it and help you out with the editing and all of that jazz. Well, once you have your extracts all picked, then you can have a go at this. Don't try and do it in the middle of everything else, or you'll just confuse yourself. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know and I will get back to you and do my best to help you out. I hope that you have found this series useful. I've actually realised, like I said I probably would, that there's one more video I should make, which is about how to customise it. I think I might have said that I was going to do that this week, but I changed my mind and did this instead. I'll do the customising video next week because it's not majorly important, but it is fun and it makes it all look a little bit more personalised and a little bit more exciting. So I will have another video next week about that. But if you get to this stage, you are 98% of the way done. The last video will be very basic stuff. It'll be adding clip art and changing fonts and all of that kind of stuff that just makes it look a little bit more pretty. So I hope you guys are all getting on really well with your pieces and your folder and everything else, and I will see you really soon.